Welcome to the first episode of the Last Night Sports Blog and Radio. We're going to have some fun. Just want to talk sports. It's pretty much a guy blog, guy radio show, guy podcast. And we're going to talk sports. I'm the host, Brandon Edwards. I'm from New York, but we're coming to you live from sunny Hollywood, California. Major shout outs to all my friends and family across the nation. As we all know, everyone loves MJ. I'm an 80s baby, so I grew up with MJ, Michael Jordan, just being the man. From sneakers to clothes to, slam dunk contest. As a player, he gets an A+ rating. I mean, he's at the top of the list, man. Everyone wants to be like Mike. That's one thing we grew up hearing, to be like Mike. Now, let's get to the nitty gritty. On the flip side, we can consider MJ as a GM or owner and general manager. I tell you, it gets pretty ugly. With fantasy football and fantasy basketball, I think any of us could probably do a better job than MJ's doing. It's pretty ugly. So, okay. So, we know, and Michael Jordan retired twice. He retired to go play baseball, live out his dream, which I thought was pretty cool. I mean, in his prime. And then he came back, and he won again, So, and then he retired again, and then he came back again. So, and he came back again in 2000, but not as a player, as the president of the Washington Wizards, which is very random. I didn't know Jordan had any roots there. Oh, no. They have the number 1 overall pick. Perfect timing, right? Makes sense. So who does Michael Jordan pick? Kwame Brown. That kind of stunned everybody. I mean, even, I think I remember that draft. And, they weren't big on him. Like, I remember when Kobe was coming out in the draft, man, he didn't go number 1 overall, but, this kid was the truth. I remember when, who else came out of high school? LeBron James. Oh, it was a given. But Kwame was just like, this kid named Kwame, he's okay. And to be fair, 2001 was kind of a weak draft. Who do you take? Paul Gasol from Spain? It was pretty good. Or Tyson Chandler, also straight out of high school. But what's interesting is that now both of them have rings and still start for an NBA team. Hindsight is 2020. But this is 11 years later, which is, a pretty good NBA career. He's on the Bobcats now. He ends up with full ownership or majority ownership. He buys the rest from Bob Johnson. And as I was researching again, the team was like $125 million in debt, which is, pretty bad. Bob Johnson, as you know, the BET guy. Both of them are, Bob Johnson, Michael Jordan, both originally from North Carolina, grew up and raised in North Carolina. And it's like, who wouldn't want to bring an NBA team to their hometown? So hats off to Michael Jordan for being the first former NBA player owner. I mean, this is pretty huge. The first one to own a franchise. He has the money. He can do whatever he wants to do. It was an emotional decision. And I think you really have to fire the CFOs on this one. Can them. It was bad financial decision. Not fiscally smart whatsoever. As those who love basketball, and I'm a Tar Heels fan. North Carolina is a college basketball town. So North Carolina Tar Heels, Chapel Hill, the Dukies, the Blue Devils, even NC State. He started in 06, the 06-07 season. They ended with 33 wins, 49 losses. And they drafted Adam Morrison, Gonzaga. Horrible pick. I mean, he was pretty good in college, but dude, they drafted him number 3 overall. In the 07-08 season, 32-50. They were worse. Drafted Brandon Wright. Bad. Jordan likes drafting these 6-6 off the bench players as lottery picks, in the top 5. So anyway, he's on his second coach as well. So second year, second coach, second bad pick. Future's looking great. 2008, 2009 season, a little better. 35 and 47, which is still bad, sub 500. They draft DJ Augustine, who I think is a pretty good player. I think he's a pretty good point guard. Now they're on to coach number 3. 2009, 2010, best year so far. They made the playoffs. They were 44 and 38. They were swept by Orlando in the playoffs. And that year they had drafted Gerald Henderson from Duke, which is a decent player. He's a decent player. And they still have the same coach. They're on coach number 3. Quick side note, why would you trade or not pay Gerald Wallace when he is pretty much the best player that you have? He's not going to desire a max contract. And he's the only all-star, I believe, the Bobcats have ever had. They got rid of him. He's tearing it up in Portland in place of LaMarcus Aldridge, who's injured. Anyway, that's Jordan, though. That's all MJ. Charlotte is a long way behind from being good or ever reaching the playoffs again. How would you fix the Bobcats? I mean, I can't talk about all these criticisms and problems without a solution or two. First on the list, hire Donnie Walsh. That's my guy. I think the Bobcats are going to suck enough, not for Andrew Luck, but they'll suck enough to be able to possibly draft Harrison Barnes. Small forward out of North Carolina, kind of, similar MJ story. I keep saying he could be the next one. They do have good news. So, Dizana Diop, these are players for the Bobcats, by the way. Boris Diaw, Matt Carroll, and Eduardo Nahara will be free agents. Those guys all together combined for about $23 million in clear cap. Let them go. Don't re-sign them. I think they should definitely renegotiate with Tyrus Thomas, who's super overpaid. He's another 6'6" bench guy, which he's making a lot of money. And renegotiate with Corey Maggette. They're giving him bank, and these guys they're not really carrying the team like that. And they're not your future stars. I'd look to trade them. I don't know who's going to want them, but on the books, both those guys are $17 million. It's not worth it. Dwight Howard, throw your hat in the ring. Bobcats should go after a center, but Kevin Love, he's great. I'd want him on my team. I'd go after him. Give him a max contract. Darren Williams, if you can get him. Another interesting point to add to what could affect Michael Jordan's legacy or tarnish it or put a shadow over it or mar it is this past 2011 lockout, where many have said, and it's been leaked, that Jordan was a hardline owner. So he was the main one pushing for the lockout, leading those group of owners, the losers that weren't making enough money and weren't winning games. And he a lot of people deemed him a sellout, because he was, for his whole career, for the players and the player. And now he's, kind of turning against the players. And that's the first episode of the Last Night Sports Blog and Radio. I hope to keep it consistent and come to you on a weekly basis. Next up, I want to talk about the combine and stuff like that, and the mock draft, and football. I love football. I'm definitely a football, basketball guy. So thanks for tuning in. Once again, check out Tumblr, the Last Night, sbr.tumblr.com, and the Last Night at usa.com. I'll email you back immediately. Leave comments. I'll check in on your comments and respond, and let's get the dialogue going. I feel like Michael Jordan, a symbol of excellence, is a great way to start. But yeah, tune in. Have a great week, and thanks for your time.